Hi, Just Sayers. This is episode 5 of Beyond Letters. Today, we're looking at IT words to help your IT students. When I asked you for most mispronounced IT words, you've given me some proper names and you've given me verbs and nouns and other words that are frequently mispronounced by IT guys. This time, the handout starts with the puzzles. So the students should have no idea what words will be hidden and what words will be taught by you in this Beyond Letters handout. As previously and as with other handouts, this one is also divided into sections. So the best thing to do at this point would be to fold the page where you see the wavy kind of line. So fold it here so that students can only see the 5 puzzles. If you're teaching online, then of course cut this out from the PDF and share it with them, but only share this section, what you see right now. So the top 5. Well, the idea is the students in pairs or individually should try to understand what is hidden behind these little equations. So I'm going to help you out a little bit here. If you haven't introduced schwa before, now is a good time to do it. In Beyond Letters episode 2, that was the business handout, we also had the introduction of schwa. So if you haven't done that yet, maybe a good idea would be to start with episode 2 and then move on to episode 5 where they have schwa again, so that they don't forget what it implies. If you have access to my course, Just Say It, How to Teach Pronunciation Creatively, you also have lots of schwa practice there in the connected speech handouts and when you listen to the dialogues. So if you did that, or if you're planning on doing that, you can start with introducing schwa with the Beyond Letters handouts, and then it'll be much easier to teach them to recognize that sound and find it and produce it in the connected speech handouts later on. So either way, this handout will work well with either Beyond Letters number 2 or with materials from my course. So that's one thing. Remember to make sure the students understand what the schwa is. And the other thing is the voiceless TH. So this is the symbol for the voiceless TH, so the sound. Now, students might not know this symbol. Of course, it's not something that they would see every day as a graffiti on a wall, right? So again, you would have to, before you give them the puzzle, just make sure to tell them, okay, guys, this little symbol here is the official phonetic symbol for th. If you haven't practiced THs with them yet, then it might prove to be a little challenge for them. Again, I'm going to say about my course, because there's tons of TH practice in Just Say It, how to teach pronunciation creatively. So if you are looking for TH materials and how to teach voiced and voiceless THs, I am recommending My Little Baby, because there's a shitload, sorry for the word, there's really a lot of stuff there to practice the THs. But if you do not have access to the course and you're not interested in that course, then of course, at this point, it would be just good to tell them this is the TH, so that sound. You can go into the pronunciation if you want, or you can just leave it and say that that's what it is and that's it. So the students look at the words and try to identify what they are. So in this case, you might have discovered it already. We have a bird minus B plus W, so it's word. This is Python, the program. This is Adobe, because we have a donut minus the nut, Adobe. Java, because we have a jar, so it's Java. And then we have Excel, because it's X and L, so it's like Excel. Once they identify that, you can move on to part 2, or tell them basically, okay, unfold the handout that you received and check whether you have discovered and you have solved the puzzles correctly. And of course, in this case, they have Word, Excel, Python, Adobe, and Java. This is Adobe Illustrator, so it's like a product of Adobe. What is important to mention here is the fact that the word might be complicated, because we have that little symbol, the 3 with 2 dots. So it's like with bird, word. So if you're teaching that one, the best way to do it is with the sound and with with the example of the bird. The bird, you had the pronunciation of the word bird in handout number 1, where we looked at beer, beard, bird, burn, and so on. So if you hear the students have issues with that, you can use handout number 1 of Beyond Letters, or you can basically give them more examples and tell them to kind of and all the time. Finally, we're moving on to part 3. And this is something that you can basically cut out and divide into 2 mini handouts for A students and B students, or you can keep it the way it is. If they're A's, they should fold the page so they don't see B. And if they're B's, they should fold the page so they don't see A's, right? Obviously. If it's an online class, then you can cut out the pages and share the fragments with specific pairs of students. Now, the idea here is you only have specific symbols. So the students should remember, or at least try to remember, what each symbol represents. So we have the jar is Java, Python, Excel, Word, Adobe, right? Word, Python, Java, Excel, Adobe. And they're all in different order, as you can see. So the idea here is for the students to kind of slowly pronounce all the 5 different names of programs or apps. So in this case, student A pronounces all the 5 words. Student B listens and writes them down, checks for the correct pronunciation. And then student B reads theirs, A writes it down, checks for the correct pronunciation, and so on. And then if you have some time left, you can have the students read the words together, because the important thing is to practice, and make sure they pronounce them correctly. So this is basically a lot of drilling, looking at the words, looking at the images, and trying to repeat not the image, but the word that represents the image in the correct way. And they can kind of make up the patterns as they go. So you can have the student create something a little bit more complicated. So let's say Adobe, Word, Java. And student B will have to write it down, Adobe, Word, Java, and then kind of repeat the pattern to A. So this could be a lot of repetition, a lot of drilling in pairs or mini groups. The next handout, so handout number 6, that I will describe to you next week, will have a revision at the very, very top, because it is kind of part 2 of IT words. So it will have this little section here as a revision, so that you can make sure that the students learn the phrases correctly. So that was me. That was 5 words that IT students or IT professionals mispronounced frequently. Tell me what you think about the handouts. Let me know you're using them, because you've been kind of quiet, and it is a little bit discouraging that nobody's reacting to any of this. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.